Howdy, folks. We're here, roundtable discussion with Kenny Omega and the legend,
Uh-oh.
Kai Greene.
Hey, I'm not a legend.
We're just signing some stuff for some very lucky fans and possibly consumers of our merchandise. But we thought, why not have a little discussion with y'all at home?
That's right. We wanted to talk with you guys and talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah, get to know each other. Now we're going to be
Absolutely.
working together, and then we're on the same team. I don't know the first thing about you, Kai.
You know what?
Not even the first thing.
You know what? I think this is a really welcomed exchange. One that we should have done a long time ago.
A long time, years ago, in
Well,
fact.
you know what? I'm excited to have it now.
So, I mean, we all know that you're a legendary bodybuilder.
I wouldn't say a legend, but I'm happy to be here.
You are a bodybuilder.
Hey, well, that's
Yeah, at the elite level, and as
remains to be seen.
it does remain to be seen, but you've proven it without having to say any more than that.
Oh, okay.
So let's start with a bodybuilding question. You know, if you don't-
okay.
Yeah, very bodybuilding centric question.
Aha.
Something I've really wanted to know ever since knowing about you and your lore and your upbringing and all your
What a
stories.
sophisticated word. I like that.
I
sounds
think I want to
important.
know, and I think everyone wants to know how was it working on Stranger Things?
Oh my goodness. Well, you know
I
what?
thought it was really cool to see you on it. I was
I didn't even know you
I'm a fan, I'm a fan.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Thank you for even
Absolutely, man.
noticing that. That's
course,
that
of
was a
course.
really big opportunity for me, man. In my,
Absolutely, and a great show. I'm a big fan of the show itself too.
man,
I don't know if you watch it at all, but it's a good one.
Yeah. Well, I can't.
What's important is that I watch it. I'm a fan. That's why I'm asking. And a
Wow.
lot of fans at home,
Wow.
I'm sure, love Stranger Things.
Well, if you are, then somebody need to write a letter to their congressman or somebody and see what's going on with the next season. Because maybe they'll bring the Misfits back.
There you go.
I'm hoping and believing, if we can touch and agree, maybe that's a possibility. Not trying to let anything out the bag, but we're waiting to find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
And
was
the
a
new
really
season
cool
is
thing.
confirmed, so that might not be the last of you.
Well, hey, your lips to God's ears, and maybe some of you at home will be so kind of weigh in on the possibility.
There you are.
But we it was a really good time, a really great experience, and I am very, very thankful and forever changed. Because
How was
of
it cast? Are they friendly?
They were awesome.
Yeah.
They
A lot of
were
them got their
awesome.
big break from that show, so I would imagine they'd probably be pretty fun and eager beavers on the set, which is nice. Yeah.
It was definitely something that I prayed for.
Yeah.
And was surprised to actually see it manifest. So
Great.
Just very thankful for having had that exchange, and it was awesome. It was
think
as
it's
awesome
great.
as you imagined it to be.
I love seeing big guys on the silver screen.
So
Yeah, I'm a old 80s 90s action fan, so to see dudes that have hit the gym look like they're in shape, guys like Kai on the screen, always brings a tear to my eye. I love seeing guys like that. I'm a big fan of the Rock movies and all that too. Guys that are I love those old school action styled physiques on whether it be on TVs, movies, video games. It's just I'm old school that way. So I love your Schwarzeneggers, your Van Dammes, your Stallones. That's
how much of that influenced you in your developing your career?
You know what? I love cheesy one-liners.
Cheesy one-liners.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, to see these guys who kind of became my heroes, becoming the hero in their own respective movies, and whatever it was, saving the day, saving the girl, saving the guy, whatever the case may be, to do that and do it in style and do it with charisma and do it while looking good. That's what I always wanted to do, regardless of what I chose in life. So I always thought I would be a wrestler. I did become a wrestler, but even if I were an English teacher, which that was my plan B, I still wanted to bring that style of charisma. I wanted to have that kind of effect on my students, where if they heard me, have a lecture or teach or discuss something, they would say like, Professor Kenny or Teacher Kenny, he had a real fun class today, and I learned something, and I want to come back and learn. So I want to have that sort of magnetism, and I could see you being that way too. You have a magnetic effect with your crowd and fan base, and I think that when you do your thing, people are attracted to you. You divert eyes to your direction. You have that animal magnetism, which you can't.
I like that.
Yeah, it's not something you can train. Sometimes you have to have it naturally, and I think you got it naturally. And I think, especially when you have an artistic mind and an artistic, you carry yourself always open to the possibilities around you and being creative and trying to rewrite the game, like what you've been doing. What I try to do, I feel that, you'll get a little bit of attention. Sometimes not welcomed, but,
Plan B, English teacher?
It was, yeah. I was thinking either English teacher or psychologist, believe it or not.
Psychologist. That's brilliant, because you just talked about being so aware from a psychological perspective with everything that you just talked about.
What makes us tick as human beings has always been something that interests me. And if you have a grasp on psychology, it obviously helps in what I do in show business. And what I do, if I decided to be a teacher, it also helps teach. I was a coach in sports as well, so even having that background allows you to work with your kids or your players a little better. I think it allows you to develop a connection, because it's.
Would you say that's at the root of every developing performing personality? The ability to psychoanalyze your audience, yourself, and to be aware enough to make the choices or decisions that you make while in character?
I think I've always had to rely on my brain more so than my physical ability to get to where I'm at today. So even though I had an athletic background, even though I was gifted with certain tools that allowed me to keep up with the greater athletes in professional wrestling or hockey or beach volleyball or whatever it is that I did, I always felt that my ability to analyze and assess a situation and be able to react accordingly is what helped me bring myself to the top level. So it was a combination. I never had the freaky ability just to perform and rely completely on my natural ability. There was always a lot of practice that went into everything, and there's always a lot of analysis, which is tough. But I mean, it's I think now, especially in the year 2021, it's required, because there are plenty of freak athletes out there. There are plenty of people that have taken all the right steps to get to a top level, but then there's just that one little thing that puts you above the competition, and it's not something that you're going to get from a physical standpoint. It's going to be something that probably comes from up here, or possibly in here. But I would say I'm more smart than I am passionate. Probably.
So that means that you're saying right now, for everybody that's at home and has ever asked the question of how much is success, at your level for what you do, depending upon genetics. How much does genetics actually play in that? I think I just heard you say very little.
It can only take you so far. It gives you a great jump start out of the gate. It might allow you to at least get yourself in a position where you can hang back a little bit and see everyone trying to catch up to you, and then make your next move from there. But if you're only relying 100% on your genetical ability, if you're only relying on your God-given gifts, or whatever training that it was that brought you to that level, and you kind of maintain that status quo, you're only going to go so far. Again, like back in the day, we're talking like way back, probably even before I was born, genetics played a much larger role, I think, in sports, even in other professions too. I mean, singers, actors. If you wanted to be in radio, for example, if you had that natural voice,
that voice.
Exactly. Sometimes that's all it took. If you had a wonderful, powerful voice in singing, if you could sing well, if you could hit, the highest of octaves, you probably had an opportunity to have a career. And now, if you are just well tuned in music in general, you could probably substitute whatever you're lacking in musical ability in your voice vocally, toss in some auto-tune, but if you got a great beat, if you got a great idea of how you want to compose that song, you can still be a megastar. And that's the reality of 2021, I think. And I think same goes for professional wrestling, which is what I do, same goes for bodybuilding, which is what you do, or acting, or gaming, my side projects and everything. You got to think outside the box, and you have to, in my opinion, and in my experience.
Well, your opinion is important. That's why we interviewed you.
It might be important just for this question, but I've had to look for whatever advantage I could get in whatever way that I could strategize my way to put myself above the next person who's fighting tooth and nail for that spot. Which again, I think that goes hand in hand with what you do in bodybuilding. What is it that you found yourself doing to really put yourself above the competition when you knew that they were going to be doing everything that they could to rely on their gifts and to bring their best package to the stage?
Oh, you know what? I think after listening to you right now, I think honestly, you just like shine some light on a lot of things that I might have just been in the dark about, you know? Because people will talk forever about, genetics, but a lot less conversation has actually, been devoted to the concept of desire. And I think with listening to what you just said, there's a lot revealed about why that desire component is so important. I think some would say enough that if you have desire, at least, then you're capable of having everything else that you need or enough of what you need to advance and excel at anything, whether it's wrestling, boxing, or in this case, as you were relating to my experience with competitive bodybuilding. I'm going to piggyback on that to answer the question that you just asked.
Totally fine.
And that is the
wraps up a nice little package.
The point being strategy. Yeah. I think without necessarily understanding at another time in my life what the strategical component would need to be in an effort to overcome some of the obstacles and challenges that were certainly seemingly insurmountable at different times. The desire component was one of those things that I think at best allow you to do what you can as long as you can until you can get to a place where you can afford to do better. And technically for even the person that was working with less insight, but with enough passion or with enough commitment or with enough desire, that desire component becomes the thing that I think has helped me endure long enough and to put enough work, on the table in front of me, one step after the next, that was long enough to at some point allow me to see how the strategic component, even when I couldn't see it, because I wanted it and because I was really committed to wanting to be better, ultimately I was able to find myself into the right situation, find myself into the ability to use my own power to control what I could control in my situation to create more of the thing that I needed to help me advance. I think the strategical component is the best thing that I could use to answer the question that you just asked. I think strategy is really the thing that becomes something that you can credit after the application of desire. Because sometimes I think you may not be able to see everything. You may just be in a place where it's just time to work and all you have to do is just do the work. And all you can do or should be ready to do is just the work. Rather than say, I looked far enough and I can see it, it's too difficult. Now, man, I'd have to read another 4 or 5 hours a night for another 20 days a week. Oh man, I'd have to go to practice for another 30 weeks at a time, leaving late, coming early. Man, you know what? That's just too much, man. I did some wrestling moves 2 days ago, and I swear I needed like, anti-inflammatories for, a week after that, just to
at least
feel better enough to get up and kind of feel like I'm in control of myself again. Anyway, my point, if I wanted it, sometimes the desire is all you need to see your way through. And in time, that other component that we just talked about, what I just said, what it was, strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of our world's greatest war heroes were all strategists, and that's why they became who they are today. They're in the annals of time.
Annals?
In annals of time.
That's
in
intense.
the anus of time.
Anus. This is a
that's
family
heinous.
show,
That's heinous.
Heinous.
That's heinous. Anyway.
Careful.
Total war veterans. Total war. Genghis Khan.
Wow.
He's in the anus of time
In
somewhere.
the anus. Speaking in the right interest.
All right.
Ba-dum-bum.
Yeah. Second question, actually, and this one's kind of again, it's more for me. I'm not sure if anyone will take interest in the answer, but I'm really interested in hearing the answer. For what I do, is professional wrestling. Some people consider it a sport. Some people consider it sports entertainment. It's show business, though. It's very important for what we do to present it as a show because people need to be entertained. It's an entertainment sport. It's a spectator sport. I like to look at it not only as show business, but as an art form. So I like to try to display that in my performances. That I've got a wide spectrum,
Yeah.
you know, and my range in this art form is I try to always widen it as much as I can go. I try to show that I can, as much as I can do this thing well, I can do this thing just as well. I want to add more tools to my tool chest.
But you've obviously been a student of more
Yeah.
than the subculture that is your sport. I mean, because you seem to be, just as you said, able to approach this thing from a lot of very sophisticated points of view.
Yeah, sometimes
which
maybe
is what makes you,
Yeah.
as outstanding.
And maybe sometimes I
as you
search for
are.
things that aren't actually there, but I do feel like it's helped me rise above what wrestling is on a surface
What do you
level.
mean when you say that? Things that aren't necessarily there.
Well, I mean, sometimes you overanalyze something and you give yourself a new purpose due to something, just a thought. Or, for example, if I thought, you know, I want to aggressively take on wrestling as an art form, and the person next to you might go, "What do you mean an art form? It's just two dudes in bikinis beating each other up."
Yeah, but that person couldn't excel like you.
That is true. That is true. But sometimes, you know, I can't remember which famous psychologist actually said it, but he said, you know, sometimes just a pencil is a pencil. You know, there's no
fuck
deeper
that.
meaning
I
to
don't
it.
believe that,
But
'cause you
for me-
respect it.
But
You
for,
respect it
but for
for-
me, if that pencil falls into the mythos of wrestling, and especially in one of my storylines or one of my matches, I'm going to try to make that pencil become as significant as it possibly can be,
Yeah.
even though it is just a pencil.
Yeah.
You know. So I guess my question to you is, you know, you
That makes
approaching bodybuilding very much so, and I guess the human body as art and a piece of art, and bodybuilding as an art form. What is it that you'd like to give back to the community, or what is it that you'd like to, in its purest form, show as an artist who also is an elite level bodybuilder? Is it the beauty of the human body? Is it the beauty of bodybuilding, a sport in general, what it can be, what it should be, what it is to you? Is it more about an expression of oneself, just of you? Are you trying to show more of what makes you you, or are you trying to represent something larger?
Yeah, honestly, I think it depends on where I'm at the time that you
Yeah,
ask
that's
a
a good
question like
point.
that,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I think I want to piggyback off of something you just said. You know,
Sure.
sometimes you said you're guilty of overanalyzing.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes
Often.
by doing that you can make make a pencil, you know, more significant than it really should be.
Yep.
And that circular thinking method that you're talking about. But I don't think that that's a wrong thing. I think that in doing that, that's how a person shows their respect for the thing that they're willing to invest their time and effort into. And I think by doing that, it's a natural process. You need to, overanalyze that, or what some people would identify as being overanalyzed. Oh, you're making more of it than it needs to be.
Right, yeah.
That is a prerequisite that needs to happen in order for you to do what you do. In order for you to make this fantastically inclined, superstar that you are potentially capable of being every time that you approach your craft with the commitment to make this thing the rock that you stand on. On this performance today, I will build my church as my rock. If I think in order for you to say that, then you can't be looking at it as pencil as just as simple as a pencil. You have to be looking at it, nope, this is a monument that I will build to support this larger idea of supernatural possibility. And when you do that, then you're showing a respect and appreciation for what you have that other people may not be able to see. But because they can't see it, doesn't mean that it does not exist. Because you believe it exists, you're able to create that thing, which to other people which be not, as though it was. And as a result, it becomes, but you have to take that first step, or have to be willing to take that first step, and that's what your commitment to your craft and everything that you do allows you to do in order to become the success that we later identify you as. Oh man, that performance you did was amazing. Yeah, man, when you did, how did you know what to do? How did you? I think it starts with being able to overanalyze it and say, this means that much to me, So I would think these thoughts and make these steps as a result.
Yeah. Where do you take some of your inspiration from? I mean, when you go into, for example, perhaps even the choreography of a pose down routine, or when we're about to paint a wonderful art piece on a canvas, a blank canvas, when you got a blank canvas in front of you, does your inspiration come from something that has been in your head for a long time, or head or heart, or is it something that popped in your head that day and you said, you know what, I got to get this on a canvas now before I forget it?
Man, I think of myself as being like a storehouse of just, potential, and everything that we do becomes an opportunity to express this potential that is limitless.
That's true.
You know, so when I walk into a situation and I'm looking around saying, yo, man, I can't do this. Yo, man, I don't know anybody in this room. I'm nervous. Oh, man, I got a scar on my face. Oh, man, I'm too ugly. Man, my nose is too, I'm too short. I can't. Wait, hold on, stop. Wait a minute. The necessary steps to put those things where they need to be, which is down somewhere where they can't be seen. So I can now step up and tap into those other things that are available to me because I'm now not allowing myself to be held back by the nonsense that I've probably downloaded and processed over the years that technically doesn't speak to my larger credit and certainly stands in the way of my ability to be in command and in touch with more stuff, more opportunity than I would otherwise be if I allowed myself to be shackled by those negative thoughts and ideas. So I just see myself as being like, just limitless possibility. And sometimes I can really capture that and see a piece of that manifesting as something that I'm able to be a part of or experience when I'm more likely to just get out of my own way. When I'm not allowing myself to be, oh, you know what, I've never done this before. Oh my God, I can't look. Wait a minute, stop, focus, let's leave that stuff alone and let's be connected with the stuff that we want to do.
Right.
I want to see the opportunity and unfold in front of me. I'm ready for it. And in that moment, I guess what happens is I'm able to graduate beyond being at this place where I would have always just held myself back. I'm not going to say that because they're going to make fun of me. I'm not going to share that because then they're going to think that that's too vulnerable. And they might think I'm gay. I'm not going to wear my hair like this because it's not going to make sense to somebody else. And
it's not the in style or whatever. Yeah.
So man, when I'm best effective with being the power broker that I am, that I want to be in my life when I'm able to get out of my own way.
Well, let me ask you something there, Kai. Let's say we get lucky. I would have to be extremely lucky in this scenario. But let's say we get lucky. We live to about 100 years old. 100. Everything that you've got going on in your brain that you want to do, you've accomplished it. And now you're 100 and you sense the end coming. What is it that you feel at that point in time would be your greatest accomplishment? Or what is it that you felt that you left behind that really speaks of you as a person? And that thing that you accomplished, that embodies Kai Greene. What is it that you think is that premier accomplishment in the life and times of Kai Greene?
That's such a
you have to have a little bit of foresight because maybe
that's
that moment hasn't happened yet.
crazy.
Maybe it hasn't happened yet.
You want me to write my own obituary right here?
A little bit, kind of. A little bit.
That's kind of scary. Some people would think that's.
Well, we all know you're only living to 100 years, so that's it. They can do the math.
That in itself is like, I don't want no limitations like that because who knows with all this new developments and stuff with science and everything. If I can live to 100, why not 110? I mean, if you give me an inch, I'd like to take a mile. That's like going out on a date with Shorty and finding out, she's good to date, but if she's great to date, then what about being a wife?
What about date number 2?
And if that, if we can have a lifetime together,
Agreed,
why not 2? I'm just kidding. But I think it's just a natural, inherent part of life to want to seek to expand, to really just, algae will grow on the side of a rock.
It will.
The natural thing of life is to live. It's going to seek living. That's why you don't got to talk to a dog and say, hey, man, you've come to that age where you should probably think about procreating. It's just going to do it. I'm just compelled to do it. That conversation that you can have with your son or even with yourself, you may not even need to have it. I just woke up and it was there. I needed to do something and I had to find a way to get that done. Anyway.
So how about part B to the question then? Did you ever wake up and go, you know what? Why? I want that house with the white picket fence. I want that storybook ending. I want that all-American storybook ending. Did you ever feel that way? Did you ever feel that something, the oven timer went off and you just said, wait, something just went off in me? I want that, what people consider is what we should strive for in life. I want whatever, wife, house, white picket fence, kids.
You know what? I think when I was a kid, I might have, I watched a lot of TV. Growing up, I watched TV.
It trains
TV
you.
was
It
my
trains you to-
babysitter.
it was,
I could tell time by the television.
That's right.
I mean,
because
I used to be able to do that.
Yep.
Give Me a Break came on at this time. Get Well Smart came on at that time. I knew what time the Flintstones came on. I could tell time without really needing to read the clock.
And the day too, probably, right?
Well, yeah,
You
that's
know when
right.
the
Because
Saturday morning
Thursday night,
cartoons-
I knew what the lineups were on television.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So you're following me. We're on the same page.
Yep.
With saying that, I think that as long as I was, operating from the concept that I understood as a kid, chances are, I might have, thought about the picket fence and all those things.
Yeah.
However,
Yep.
real life for me
Yeah.
has revealed that that's not necessarily how I should be looking at things. The ability to judge my way to see my successful expressions in my life,
Yep.
even at for this question, at the end of my life, I don't think will be reflected very, very accurately by those standards or ideas that I had when I was a kid watching television. I think, or certainly having been a kid influenced by the influences that I saw on television, the examples that I saw on television. I'll say it this way. I think that for me, to get to a place where I'm at the end of my life and I'm looking backward and I'm saying, these are the things that I needed to do that I feel very, very happy about having done. I think if I'm able to say, yo, man, I was able to become the example and to really, honestly, in my heart of hearts, feel like I was able to really represent that example. The example that is, yo, man, this is what it looked like to get out of my own way. Because the truth is, I will struggle with a lot of things. I have struggled with a lot of things. I still struggle with a lot of things. However, I do believe that there's reason to believe that there's larger success possibility for me. I believe that it's my responsibility to step boldly and command strongly and, really believe with every substance and fiber of my being that I can. And I'm supposed to do that in this thing with the use of this opportunity called my life. I am very passionate about that. And I think that my ability to remember that even when my struggles become very, very consuming. And even at times when I feel like I've been beaten. I'm able to remember that, and whenever it is that I'm able to find my way back into standing strongly in that, I then find the ability to go forward and actually do more of what I believe I'm put here to do, and that's to not only be the example, but to do great things. And now with that, the ability to be successful at doing great things is not a question anymore. So if I'm working without the resource of that I can see tangibly in my hand around me right now in this moment, it doesn't mean that it can't happen. It doesn't mean that I won't be able to do it. I have learned now by this point in my life that if I'm asked to answer that question you're talking about and thinking about projecting further and then looking back, I expect to achieve some monumental shit because I am willing to work harder than I've ever worked before. Because it's my responsibility to do it now. So I am expecting great things. My sitting here with you right now on this camera is not by accident. Not for you.
Oh, right.
Nor for me.
These guys set it up. That's why.
Well, you know what? And believe it or not, beyond, there's even much more divine purpose.
Of course.
That is being realized in the moment that we're touching and agreeing right now, whether or not you know my last name or not. You get what I'm saying? Anybody out there that is where they are hearing what I'm saying, they may say, this guy is crazy. I get it. He's gay and he's crazy. Something's wrong with him. Yeah, I knew something was wrong with him. That's why he didn't do this, and that's why he didn't do that, and that's why his career failed. I am so passionate in this moment. It is crazy. there's a lot of shit that I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit that I'm gonna do.
Yep.
Just gonna do it.
Right.
Just gonna get it done.
You just waiting for that scent?
I ain't waiting for shit.
Follow the
I ain't waiting for
no?
shit.
Yeah.
I'm not waiting for nothing. I'm working as we speak.
Yeah.
You
There
know,
we go.
and because that's so, I'm able to speak in this moment. Those things which be not as though they were, I'm gonna say boldly.
Yep.
With confidence. Why? Because I'm willing to do the work. And when you don't see me working, I'm still working.
Yeah.
When you don't see me and you don't hear me, because I believe in what I'm sharing with you right now. So if we're talking about 100 years, looking back and say, hey, so, you know, this is what I accomplished. If I'm able to say, yeah, man, I recognize my responsibility to be the example of what it looked like to get out of my own way. We can pray for shit all day. We can say, oh, man, I wish somebody would allow me. Oh, God, if you would just give me this opportunity. Whether you pray to Jehovah, Allah, Buddha, whatever, whoever you call them. My point is that there are times when we pray for stuff, we ask for it, and then we kind of
wait for it.
We
Ask and you wait.
Or we don't receive.
Yeah.
You know, because we
That's the
expecting somebody
reality.
else to do something else.
Yeah.
I'm totally decided to do the work that I'm supposed to do. I accept it, even the uncomfortableness that comes along with it.
Oh, there's always going to be uncomfortable parts of the journey. And I mean, there's no ever blueprint, or there's no archetype for what builds a champion. There's no set of instructions you follow to say, this is what you got to do to be the top at what you do. This is what you got to do to set an example, to be an example. But I think if you have a mindset like that, like what you're saying, where you're always hungry, you're always willing to put in the work, you're always willing to search out your purpose in life, then how could you be destined for anything other than something better than what you are today?
It's not
And
by
I think
accident
that's
when you get it.
always the best journey to embark upon, in my opinion.